Thank you. I am going to talk about those things and some other things about computer graphics, but let's jump in. So I have too many slides and too many things to say. I'm going to do my best to fit it in. I just wanted to say, first off, I'm happy to share the slide deck for anyone who wants it, so don't worry too much. You can always catch up that way and keep in touch. But let's jump in. I'm going to talk a little briefly about who I am, then go into a little bit on virtual production. I'm sure everybody probably knows what that is. Mainly focus on the cutting edge, the advances, some of the things that are moving forwards in that area, and then talk about efficiency, as I like to call it. Others like to call it AI and a couple other things, but and then we'll talk a little bit about skills. So, jumping straight in. My name's Ed Dawson-Taylor. I've been in visual effects for about the last 20 years. I got to work on some cool stuff like Lion King and Jungle Book that was at the beginning or like early on in the virtual production conversation, and I worked on all sorts of other things in visual effects as well. And I was a software engineer. I studied AI in 1998. It's come a long way since then. Certainly matured, and I'm excited to be able to talk about it a little bit today. So, virtual production-wise, how many people here who have done some virtual production? How many people here know Unreal Engine a little bit? I can't see anyone. That doesn't help. How many people have dabbled in AI? Probably everyone. Yeah. So, virtual production-wise, it isn't really new. It's just combining a lot of technologies together in new ways. That's really what creativity is anyway. As is AI. AI is not new. People have been talking about it for 70 years. It's not new. But it has matured. There's some new things to know about it. And virtual production is really the evolution of visual effects, trying to get visual effects to be on set with us, as well as having them stuck to the imagery afterwards in post. There's lots of different flavors of virtual production, but really most people, when they think of virtual production, they think of a big LED volume. Most virtual production that happens probably doesn't happen in an LED volume. It's more things like virtual camera work, which you could do at home using your mobile phone and a laptop. Previs, which would be trying to make a rough version of something before you make it for real, as was the Lion King movie. That was a big, fancy, very expensive previs where we used virtual camera to shoot the previs with the filmmakers so that they could all play in a sandbox together and make a movie and figure a lot of things out. And that is really, when everybody talks about virtual production, they think about real-time rendering, which is a crucial part of it, yes, but for me, an equally crucial part of it is really the real-time collaboration. It's really when everybody can get to play together and work together. That's when it really starts to come alive. That's when ideas are born, and that's when things kind of become more creative. And I've been lucky enough to witness that from some pretty extraordinary filmmakers. So we got previs, we have post-vis. That's a similar concept, but sticking together some of your live action shoot together with your previs. Tech-vis is trying to figure out the live action shoot, could have no visual effects in it at all, but we still might be using some real-time technologies to figure out what our shoot is going to look like, how it's going to work. Does the crane fit in the room? Do the lights work? That kind of thing. In-camera visual effects, which is what everyone looks towards for virtual production when they're thinking about virtual production. But could be in an LED wall, it could be in a green screen, it could be using other new technologies that are coming out. And speaking of that, here we have a description of some of the different types of virtual production that you could experience. LED walls, yes. Green screen, still tons of green screen or blue screen happening, and very old things that are being woken up again by Paul Debevec, particularly in his recent video on sodium vapor. But there's different ways of cutting out the background from the foreground or trying to shoot it all at the same time using an LED volume. And then there's things like this from Pixatope, recently releasing Pixatope Reveal, where the example there may be a little hard to see being that small, but that has no green screen and no LED wall. And as you can see, the foreground and background are being worked out by machine learning. So there's a first example of a bit of AI, if we're calling it that. It is arguably using computers is AI, but certainly using machine learning is more advanced use of computers, and being able to cut out the foreground and the background without using green screen, without using LED walls, just using AI. So just opens up the possibilities, really. There's lots of different ways of doing it and new ways emerging. So the ways in which we make the imagery for the background, there's obviously, or not obviously, virtual worlds that we can put on these walls or behind in whatever way you're doing it. We can use computer graphics. We have Unreal Engine being the kind of king of the rear projection or LED wall real-time 3D delivery mechanism. That was a horrible way of expressing that idea. But it's been the kind of the king of that world for quite some time. I've used Unity for a bunch of projects, but we've now got some newcomers with Chaos Group creating Project Arena, lifting Vantage into this space and using more traditional visual effects tools to be able to project imagery on LED walls too. There's other things you can put on walls or behind people. You can use footage, you can use a picture, you could put a video here, you can use some of these things that you might have heard of called Gaussian splats or NeRFs, and those are quasi-volumetric, photographic volumetric. They're not really volumetric, but they kind of look like it. There's an example in the slide there of a Gaussian splat. It allows you to be able to kind of move around in 3D in a whole bunch of photographs, but it allows you to use photography, which is where photorealism really comes from, is just grounding it in photography. We can use 360 videos. We can use now AI, generative AI is able to produce quite sophisticated imagery now, being able to prompt or however you create your generative AI imagery. That might be a 2D image, that might be a 2.5D image or images where you have a collection of cards, or even moving into the being able to have some depth, being able to have some 3D aspect to the 2.5D, things like Kubrick, that type of thing, being able to create backgrounds without necessarily always needing a huge team of artists. So on the cutting edge of this are still all the things that we've been trying to figure out in computer graphics for a very long time, and figured them out in pre-rendered computer graphics, but now we're refiguring them out and having them run in real time. So things like visual effects or particle systems, things that are complex, things like sophisticated characters, high-def characters, especially characters with effects on them, like cloth and hair and that kind of thing. We have the ability to be able to do real-time fluid simulations now, which just blows my mind that you can actually have that simulate in real time, let alone display in real time. Rendering is moving forwards at the speed of light, literally. It is within things like Unreal, which is mostly what's displayed here. There's been some advances that are helping work out some of the things that are more costly and make it slow. Things like lighting and really beautiful shadows, those things in the latest version with megalights in Unreal have been moved forwards, and we can now have really, really beautiful looking, well-lit environments in Unreal Engine. And then with what Chaos Group is doing, being able to full-frame ray trace on the LED wall as well. So yeah, megalights is pretty cool. There's a slide here for Project Arena from Chaos Group. They recently made a movie with Martini Giant, Chris Nichols, and the crew made this awesome, very entertaining film about where we're at today with visual effects and using the Project Arena for the background. And it's I think, how many people saw it yesterday? Was anyone here yesterday? Yeah, a few people. If you haven't seen it, check it out on YouTube. It's very fun, but it also points towards another way of doing virtual production that you might not be aware of. It's very cool, full frame ray tracing. As I said, collaboration to me has always been one of the most appealing parts of virtual production, being able to work with people around the world, having your artists live in a different country and being able to collaborate with them in real time like they're in the same office. That is very, very, very useful. It's very fun. It brings teams together in ways that lots of people, and anyone from visual effects here, anyone been through that thing? Cool. So we're used to sitting down in a dark room with a pair of headphones on, and virtual production can bring you together more. It can bring you into the same room. It can get you to collaborate and play more, especially with people in production, the folks from production, which typically would only be the visual effects supervisor. But now there's more and more effects artists, more and more CG artists getting to work with the production crew, which is a lot of fun, and everyone gets to learn things from each other. I learned tons from getting to be on set with filmmakers and DPs, people who have tremendous amount of knowledge about making imagery. We've so much to learn from each other. Sensing and motion is also rapidly advancing. My first job was on Harry Potter 5, and I had to do match move. It was very time consuming. I didn't like it very much, and I ran away from it, to be honest. But now we can track cameras in real time, and it's awesome. We can also track people and creatures and props and all kinds of things using technologies like, and they're becoming way more affordable. Things like the Macopi are appearing, which by Sony, which is $400 or $500 for a mocap suit. That used to be tens of thousands of dollars for anyone to even touch, but now all of it's becoming more accessible, being driven by advances in technology. People are making digital twins of the real world and putting them on these walls. There's tons of different ways of doing that, from scanning and using Gaussian splats to photogrammetry to procedurally creating them. This was a project I worked on. We were procedurally recreating real racetracks from around the world using Houdini and then running them in game engines. There's also lighting. Lighting is moving on. The technology of lights incorporating LED. Making it more affordable, more powerful. The color in them is improving, and being able to control color, not only with a box behind the light, but also controlling it directly out of the environment. So as is hinted at by that picture on the right there, we can take the color from the environment and cast it through these lights. So if there's something behind me here, these lights could be bouncing the blue from the sky automatically just by sampling that world and pushing it through the light. So it just makes everything feel like it belongs together more. And then the more sophisticated version of that, having things like the light stage, which Paul Debevec should take full credit for. He's massively pioneered in this area, using lighting and being able to play with it afterwards even. So definitely check him out if you haven't already. Lots of possibilities within this technology set. Don't worry about reading it all. I just put this up here because I wanted everyone to know that there's all sorts of things that you can do with computer graphics. If you have that skill set, everybody knows that we're going through a rough time in film and visual effects, and some of the jobs I've had over the years have been outside of that, and they've been just as much fun. So I just wanted to really share that as a hope and a thing to encourage people to explore, because it is very fun. It's just as much fun. All of these different things here, I've done many of them, and they're great. And whilst the film industry is figuring itself out, there's other stuff to do. A couple of projects we worked on at CG Pro. Most people will probably know us as a school, but we also have a studio and we make things. This project here we made for Sony for the release of Gran Turismo, the movie, and it's on a stereo display which doesn't need any glasses. If you want to check it out, it's on our table at the back of the room. And there we also can have a chat about what we do as a school, but there's this screen is on our table, so if you want to come check it out. That was a super fun project we got to work on with some of our instructors, and one of them's there, Mr. Scott Rosecrans. We also made a meditation piece for to help people with PTSD. That somehow ended up on this giant billboard in Times Square, and that was a bizarre day. Earth, Wind and Fire playing at the launch party, very unexpected. But now it's off out in the world. It's at film festivals, and it's like helping people, like veterans who are recovering from PTSD. It was a massive honor to be able to work on that project, and I think we also have that out on the booth as well. We worked with NASA getting the moon in Unreal Engine, and it was tons of fun, and I totally put myself up for that project because I could. It was really, really, really cool. It was full-scale moon, so using really, really, really massive environments is also possible in Unreal Engine. Shifting rapidly through here, so efficiency. This is a hot topic, I think. Most people are looking at AI, but there's a couple of different versions where you can punch above your weight, create more with less, make more with less is what I think everybody wants to do. We all are inherently engineers and artists, kind of lazy, and we all want to be able to have machines. I think humans in general, we want machines to do our stuff for us. Let's face it, we've been at that for a long time. Couple of different ways you can do it. Proceduralism, which the project I showed you before on the racetracks, proceduralism using tools like Blender, Houdini, and even Unreal now, is a way of making a little computer program that will build your world for you. So it's like having a little machine. Building that engine requires technical skill, and once you've got it, you can give it to artists and have them direct it and have them create huge worlds, like the Matrix city sample, which you could generate in an hour, but the machine took a year to build. But once you've got it, you can regenerate these exquisite-looking cities in very, very short period of time using proceduralism. So small technical team and a small artist team, but being able to create very, very large, very sophisticated environments. Here it is, the one you've all come here for, AI. Let's talk about it, all right. Very briefly here, my slide says, why not to be afraid? I mean, you probably should be afraid a little bit, only as much as it motivates you and moves you to understand it and know about it. But I don't think you should be as afraid as some of the hype might suggest. It's very powerful. I think we'll stop talking about it in not very long. It will just be assumed. It will be like the internet. This is all my opinion, by the way. Happy to debate it. It's not really intelligent, so the I part is not so accurate for me. The artificial part, for sure, but the intelligence part, not so much. Very powerful, very, very powerful. It can do things that people can't do, but intelligence-wise, not so sure about that. It's not quite as good as the hype suggests. I have no idea where we are on that hype cycle. Nobody does. People talk confidently about it on the internet like they do, but we don't. We've no ability to predict where the future, and let's face it, but we'll try. Some people think we're at the top of the hype cycle. We're about to come down into the trough of disillusionment, which I'd love to rename as something more positive sounding. But I think coming back to reality is good. That's fine. Every tech trend that we've seen for a long time has probably done that. I believe it's going to help people. I think we'll have a capacity that's increased by this technology, and we will then find a way to maximize it, and then people will push that try to push that beyond what it's capable of doing, like we always have done with machinery. That it still takes today as long to render a frame as it did 20 years ago. We just expect more of the computers, and I think something similar might happen. It is very different. AI is a very different thing that's happening, but I totally believe it's about the tool. Not about the tool. The opposite of that. I totally believe it is about the art. It's about why we're making this stuff, and a lot of things that I am seeing out there, I think are amazing. They're tests. They feel very familiar in some ways. That they're very novelty-based and tech demo-y, and I think that I'm very looking forward to seeing more and more people using them to create real things that they want to express. Like things, that's what art is to me. It's a thing that people need to do because they just can't hold on to it anymore, and they have to get it out in some shape or form. And whatever tool we use to do that has changed wildly over the years. People want control. AI is not so good at control just yet, but it's getting better. Things like being able to feed more than just words into these machines, and LoRa's and various other things we can talk about. So I want to move through this stuff a little faster. But yeah, basically we're lazy. We want machines to do our work for us. AI, machine learning, or whatever it is you want to call it, is essentially taking some inputs, a little bit of input, feeding it through a black box that nobody has a clue what is inside of it or how it works, and then getting hopefully the right output out of it. This for me means that we will always need artists, because artists are the people who know the green part and the orange part there. They know what they want this thing to make, and they know when it's made it. And so that's why I believe in the artist. And I don't know. There's a lot of debate going on around people being replaced, etc. But I believe firmly that we'll be using these things to make things that we want to make. And then there'll be a whole load of other stuff as well that people are just enjoying making, and that's fine. I'm going to fly through these next part, so feel free to ask me for the slides. But you probably all are aware of all of this anyway. AI can make imagery, video, 3D models, visual effects, things like Wonder Dynamics, Wonder Studios, being able to do a whole bunch of the process that we've done in visual effects. So paint that character there, the robot, was a person. It's painted out the person. It has rotomated a robot over the top, lit it, composited it back in to the frame, kind of by itself. Needs to be guided still by an artist, but it empowers artists to be able to cut some of the technical stuff out of the way. So lots of things in visual effects, motion, being able to get motion from videos, as opposed to needing big arrays of cameras that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. You can now get it from a single camera, a few more cameras, and you get much better motion. And there's also things like the Macopy, as I said, or other inertial suits that are also getting pretty good. Some combination of the two is starting to emerge as well. We also can make, as I said, kind of quasi-volumetric photo-volumetric. I'm going to start inventing words. So volumetrics, we've been trying and dabbling at that for a long time as well, having a volumetric understanding of this world, like almost a kind of molecular reconstruction of it. The things that we're seeing now, Gaussian splats and NURBS, aren't really volumetrics, but they allow you to put photography in 3 dimensions on a screen such as this. Another thing that's near and dear to my heart, running a school, is EdTech and administrative assistance, because I don't like administrative work, and I certainly want these machines to do that for me. I also want to increase the power of teaching and being able to help get people skills more efficiently, faster, better, more high quality experience in terms of teaching, and I'm finding all these ways to do that. But there's tons of EdTech that's coming out. Leveraging some of these things like Notebook LM, Chat GPT, or OpenAI, the API. Gemini 2 came out this morning or late last night. I've tried to dabble with it, didn't have time, I was trying to finish this talk. But I did a little bit because I couldn't help myself. So for the last couple minutes, training-wise, I just want to very briefly highlight so how do you keep up with all of this? Like, the best way to do it is to find good mentors, good community around it, and just dig into the skill building. What I believe is that we still need all these traditional skills more with AI, but you should understand virtual production, or whatever that means to you, real-time technologies, and then in the AI space, what's happening with machine learning as well, and then learning about filmmaking for anyone that doesn't. I'm going to have like probably 3 minutes for questions at the end of this. I'm almost there. As a school, CG Pro, we train people, a lot of Unreal Engine, but other things, including AI. And I'm going to whiz past the video. but you can see it on the internet, so it's fine. We've had some really cool clients. I've already talked about some of those already. One thing I briefly wanted to mention is the inner circle. The inner circle is something I'm really passionate about. Our courses are bigger and a bit more expensive than this is. This is a really, really awesome group of people who are really pushing it. It's year-round support, being able to keep up with all of this. We meet 6 times a month, and we've built a brand new platform for all of this. We have 6 times a month we meet live. We have 2 classes and 4 labs, so you can come in and ask questions, get unstuck. We have this new platform here which has a smart library in it. You can ask it questions. You can dig into the 100 classes that we've got in here and ask it questions, and it will find you exactly the right place in that library for your answers. We have an AI assistant that you can speak to. You can literally talk to it and ask it a question. It will answer it for you, but it will also give you a bunch of classes inside that you can go and follow and dig further into those skills. And yeah, it's global searching. It has a forum in there so we can all help each other and connect and grow. The app's coming out in January, but this platform exists today. It's $55 a month. There's my sales pitch and ways to keep in touch. And then 3 minutes for questions.
We can, it's a little soft, but yes, you have time for questions. So
okay, cool.
Anything for Ed? Stephen Calcote, of course. Here we go.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks, Ed.
Yeah.
Really curious, a question that I think is hitting us all in industry every day, especially as we kick off 2025. How are you talking to your students now about AI in terms of fitting it into workflows? Is it, here's how you augment, you're probably going to need to use it? What's your little summary for them as they move forward into 25?
Yeah, sure. It's a great question. I think for everybody, including new people to the industry and also people in the industry already. I mean, so many of my friends are from the visual effects industry and have gone through the roughest time they've ever known, and everyone's looking to what to do. That's really what we're trying to help with the most. That's why we're so agile and nimble and why we've created this thing. But going back to this point here, not that one, that's a video. Really, the timeless and fundamental is what I recommend to people to focus on the most, because technology's always changed. I made a movie in Unity, and then the next movie, nobody was making anything in Unity. Everyone was using Unreal. So you focus on a tool, including AI tools. Like if you really learn how prompt engineering, whatever that is, you're going to learn this kind of fixed way of looking at things. If you go back to the fundamentals of all of this, it is, if I go to, there's one that has, yeah, this one. These things, like traditional, if it's been around long enough to call it that, but traditional CG skills, understanding 3D space, art skills, being able to draw, understanding imagery, composition, light, though those things don't change no matter whether you're using AI or Unreal or whatever. Filmmaking, storytelling, those all the timeless things I recommended before this. I'm just recommending them even more now, because if you learn how to, everyone comes to us, they want to learn Unreal Engine and on some other stuff as well, and we don't really teach that. We do thoroughly teach Unreal Engine, but what we teach is fundamentals. We teach it in a way that if it switches to another program, people will still have all of that value baked into it. So really fundamentals, like through and through, always. I think it will always be. Good question.
Anyone else? Okay.
They're trying to get us to our deadline.
No, yeah. Well, thank you. The subject's all near and dear to my heart personally and my career in visual effects. So thank you, Ed. Everybody, let's give a big hand for Ed Dawson-Taylor.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.